about spaceships. It's not about spaceships. It's not about spaceships.
Hey, you little monsters. I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. And today I got Rob with me. And we are joined by Mr. Ben.
I'm back.
Do you get that a lot? Like doing Star Wars shows and stuff? Is that like the most tired joke somebody could do to you? I'm never going to stop, but I'm just wondering. I just want to know. I just want to know what kind of psychic pain I'm causing you when I do it every time.
No. I mean, more of the Star Wars jokes I get along the lines like Ben Kenobi type stuff, and stereotypical Star Wars Ben Solo type of things.
Yeah,
that type of junk.
yeah. I could understand it. I mean, as a kid, I grew up being called Jason Voorhees all the time, who's a mass murdering slow adult. So there you go. But so today we got some interesting Star Wars news in that last night, Rosario Dawson posted this image. If it doesn't crash me, let's see what happens. Okay, there we go. It's up. And in this image, it's Rosario Dawson retweeting like somebody else's Instagram story. And it says Mina Masoon and Lars Mikkelsen reportedly join Ahsoka Disney Plus series. And then they wrote, this isn't Rosario. This is the person who posted it. Soak Zavana says, yes, the best news ever. Yeah, I said it like that. I need my bi person of color representation in Star Wars. Can't wait to see my BBs thrive in Ahsoka, my favorite characters in the universe, Rosario and Mina Masoon. So there you have it. So you have that. Okay. Now we are left. It has since been deleted. It's gone. And we are left here going, was that Rosario Dawson simply liking the message? Was it Rosario Dawson going, oh, it's out there, everybody knows, it's my first day in Hollywood, which doesn't make sense? Or or was it or was she having a couple glasses of wine last night and was like, hey, this is cool, and just you know what I mean? Like, who knows?
She's preparing for Clerks 3.
Yeah. I almost made that Clerks 3 joke. That would be way inappropriate. Anyway, or Clerks 2 joke. But what is your guys' assessment of that? Is that a confirmation to you, or is that highly unlikely? Still,
I believe anything the internet says.
Ben?
I would have to say, I mean, based on the things we've been hearing the last few weeks, and then even back in January, some of the more I would say reputable people, like, I'm not sure if any of you have heard of John Campia. He's a big movie reviewer and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah,
and
we got
he's always had.
He was saying what?
Yep, he's had some pretty reliable reporting over the years, and even back in January, February, he said one of his trusted sources said Mina Masood is Ezra, but he was unsure about the whole Lars Mikkelsen thing. Yeah. So to me, that plus what we've been hearing, I just think it's all adding up, honestly. And again, it could just be, I honestly think it could be just Rosario. I mean, presumably she's heard about this. Like, obviously that would be her castmates. So I think, there's definitely a chance that she could have just shared it on accident and then been like, oh crap, maybe.
I don't think it was an oh crap, but I definitely think it was like, oh yeah, those are I'm working with them. Like if she wasn't working with them, if they weren't in it, it would be weird to share that still. It's weird either way, but it's weird to share it if they're not in it. And so 100%. I'm taking it as a big check mark for the LRM story, which good job guys. But I'm also like, when it comes to actors doing things, they're a different breed sometimes, and it's hard to go and say like confirmed.
I think with that story though, I think I think it's just another piece in the puzzle of that being the case. Like, this is most likely going to happen, because at the end of the day, whether this ends up being true, which I think it's going to be, at the end of the day, Ezra and Thrawn do have to be casted at some point. I mean, they're presumably, that's basically Ahsoka's mission. She almost pretty much said it in Mando season 2. She said, "Where's Thrawn?" which basically means, "Where's Ezra?" So those characters have to be casted. And to me, as I was talking about on my podcast last week, I think when it comes to this, the timeline adds up, because Ahsoka's coming out, maybe end of next year or 2023. So this is about the timeline of when those type of characters would be getting signed on and, getting the series going. So to me, it just makes sense for the timeline of the show.
Yeah, no, it is. It's still, though. I mean, like for Mando, for instance, was a little bit of a different beast, but also was casting right up into the series starting, and they have a lot of more prep time. So once again, I'm not doubting the report, not casting shade on it. I'm hoping it's true. I'm still, though, I've seen the Twitter crowd, if you will, and to some extent the Facebook crowd going there we have it, it's as official as it gets. But I'm still keeping, I have 1 foot in, this is probably totally happening, and 1 foot in, maybe not, but no foot in, I don't think I think it's all bullshit. You know what I mean? I think it's
4 feet, 3 feet.
Well,
I'm
plus 1.
Oh, did I?
My only thing,
I should have talked about my third leg. That's my third leg. Sorry,
clue math.
I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, it is clue math. So yeah.
Well, I was going to throw out there, though. Yeah, I don't think. I was just going to say real quick, I don't think that, we have to keep in mind as well, when we're commenting on this, Lucasfilm's not going to come out and confirm this. Because look, they didn't even come out and confirm Tamara Morrison for Mando season 2 when it was Deadline and Hollywood Reporter and those outlets reporting it. And those are even, they're some of the most legit outlets. And they reported that last May it was either last May or last June. Obviously it was 5-6 months before Mando season 2. So my thing with that, even after those big outlets reported Tamara Morrison, Star Wars still themselves never came out and confirmed it until we saw him on screen. So I think we're heading in this direction because, all of these pieces keep adding up. But, we could have all these outlets come out tomorrow and say, "Hey, I talked to whoever, and, these actors are in this show." But even at the end of the day, we're not going to have it confirmed until we see it on screen, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's Mark Hamilton. I'm going to skip down to the chat a little bit because I saw him say this and I was it's a good point. Yep. He says, instead of official PR jobs, I think they're just doing this kind of thing to create viral buzz deliberately. And I think that probably makes a lot of sense. At the same time, they usually, from what I understand, have essentially some kind of layout and about what the announcements will be and how they will handle it. Sometimes we don't, from what I was told actually by someone there before, was sometimes we don't get announcements because to give an announcement would mean that they would have to interact with certain media outlets about it, and there's just no time, or it's not what they want on the table. Or if they were to go and do it, they have to talk to, I'm going to just use the 2 magazines that they always use for Star Wars, making this up though, EW and Empire Online. Well, you can't talk to Empire Online and not talk to EW. It's not it wouldn't be right. And so sometimes why they don't release stuff is because of that. And other times it's because they think that they are keeping a lid on things. But that's not how this works, because when hundreds of thousands of people have seen it who follow it online, it might as well have been official. And I think it's such a mistake on their end to not, use StarWars.com as something more than like, here's, I love StarWars.com when it's doing what it can do. And some of the people who are there are really rad. And it's a shame when they don't get to do like casting announcements and reasons to check StarWars.com. If I ever want to make like Wookiee cookies or something like that, I probably would. But for the most part, if you care about the movies, there's not really any reason to look. And even now when they're doing their behind the scenes stuff on Bad Batch, it's like it's all super obvious. It's like I don't even really need to like look at it. And that is a shame for us like behind the scenes fans, especially of living productions, so to speak.
They need their own spot like the George Lucas selects, but it's like Kathleen's Corner, right? Or right, Filoni's Filoni's room, Filoni's ball pit.
And Bespin Bulletin are of the same mind. The guy who came up with Bespin Bulletin and Kathleen's Corner. I think you guys are. Yeah, I think you guys.
And we all know nothing's real until a Lego toy spoils it, folks. Right?
That's right.
That's really when we know it's getting real, because they committed to brick.
When you get the toy leak instead of the acknowledgement it's even happening.
I love the Lego leaks because they're looking at this blockish reconstruction of something and trying to imagine it in the movie. And I just imagine it as Lego movie, like literally Lego.
Speaking of Lego, that's one thing. I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to see. Did you see the clone gunship that's coming out? It's like 3,000 or 4,000 pieces. It's huge. But this is the crazy part about it. It's probably going to be like $500, $600 or something crazy. And it only comes with Mace Windu and one clone trooper. It's like that big of a product, and you're only having 2 figures with it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to buy it, but still, it's like you'd think for something like that they would offer, even enough little clone troopers to put to like man all the positions in the clone ship.
Dude,
it's missing a hand too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm it's for me lately has not been the golden era of products, so to speak. I haven't really. I feel like I'm being down on Star Wars today, but I have to say that the Ezra Bridger and Thrawn stuff happening. I'm wondering if it's going to be a super. Everybody's excited that the Aladdin of Star Wars is going to be seen in live action. Like, there he is, guys. And then like if like the older fans who are and newer Thrawn fans for that matter, but who followed Thrawn for years and be like, there he is in live action. I can't believe I'm seeing it. If they're going to be like super excited, or if there's going to be like a cognitive dissonance that like that it's not what you're used to. Like our buddy here, Carl, he says, which is kind of links into what I was thinking. I guess it's too late now, but it would be a good idea to have Ashley voice over all of Ahsoka's live action dialogue. He's asking if it would be a good idea. Not sure if it would be a hassle and or rude to Rosario.
No, respectfully, I disagree with that comment. Just because Rosario Dawson, don't get me wrong, Ashley Eckstein's great and all, but she's a voice actress. Rosario Dawson is on a completely different acting level than Ashley Eckstein is. Like, you don't bring in Rosario Dawson to get voiced over, in my opinion, anyways.
It would look like it was like you ever watch Labyrinth in the beginning of Labyrinth when the stepmom is talking to Sarah, and it's like it was like she had like I think she had an English voice, and then they like redubbed her. Or if you're a Poppy fan like I am, and they whenever Poppy does a video, they record it and then they redub the voice so it looks like a dub, which gives it an extra eerie vibe the whole time. So even if they were like, this is what we want to do, it would probably come off super eerie. It would feel very unnatural. It would add an uncanny valley to the performance that doesn't need to be there, I think. And I'm with you, Ben, in the sense that she is her voice is about an octave higher than you would want for a wizened old Jedi lady. You know what I mean? I don't know if she's old, but you know what I'm saying? It's like she has her voice sounds like she can sound like a how old was Ahsoka? Like 13 or something? I don't know. But like basically a teenager.
13,
and so,
14, something like that.
Yeah. So it's like that's where her voice is at. So I don't see it as really a viable option. Like I think it would come off super weird. But you are getting the Thrawn voice.
In the biz, it's called ADR, and
additional dialogue recording, right?
Yeah, it never works very well. Only movie I've ever seen it kind of work is actually Terminator 2, because Edward Furlong's voice changed halfway through, and it's the one where he's talking about when he's talking to T-1000 about his dad, or T-800 about his dad, and he has this little crack in his voice. He goes, maybe, and then his voice changed, and so they had to go back and re-record all the lines in ADR. So it's the only time that I've ever seen people not really notice.
Yeah.
But they did it to Porkins. Had the actor who plays Porkins in Batman 89.
Yeah.
Like, and there's only one scene in the movie where he uses his real voice. It's a different actor. Like, and you could tell when you watch the movie, there's something that the voice doesn't match the guy. I mean, it's gruffy, but if you look, it's not in sync. It doesn't work.
Yeah, Dennis Lawson.
Oh yeah,
I think had his voice redone as well in Star Wars. Yeah,
because he's a little bitch.
Whoa, shit, dude! I don't know why. I don't know why, but Rob hates Dennis Lawson. Always wants to kick his ass. Like,
see, I love him. I think it's great that he was in Rise of Skywalker, and like I always joke around, I think they should have him be like your Mon Mothma of the Squadron movie, sending the pilots off like on a mission.
Yeah,
little man Mothma, little guy.
Look,
I challenge you to a fight in the Highlands. I challenge Dennis Lawson to a fight in the Highlands. I will take him, kills and all, buddy. We'll play some Queen. We'll toss some logs. I'll throw him right off that hill. I'll chuck his ass, and then and that'll be that. Today, made my day.
It'll be like those that weird festival in Europe where they chase the cheese down the.
They're all weird,
hill.
Bro. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's always something they throw into like the opening episode to a Doctor Who thing. Where like, here's some weird festival, and you're like, that's just stuff they do. You don't have to make that up. Like, there's something everywhere.
So what you're saying is Doctor Who was a documentary?
Doc Who
sounds like it.
Mandarin.
Doc Who Mandarin? Okay, sorry. Go on. Mr.
I think another big example of just the ADR not working in Star Wars, in my opinion, like, don't get me wrong, I love Solo and all. I think it's a real fun movie, but every time the Darth Maul scene comes on, I love Darth Maul being in that movie, but like, it just throws me off so much, like, because it's Sam Witwer's voice, but then it's Ray Park, and like, if you just look at the mouth moving, it's off, in my opinion.
It was that or Ray Park's DMs, and we didn't want that. So
that's cool.
We went with Whitmer, which is really weird because Whitmer could play Maul, an older Maul, right? Like he could put him in makeup, probably would pass,
Put him
makeup.
in makeup.
He's
pretty
been
dress.
in different things lately. Like he was like the lead villain of the Supergirl show a couple years ago.
Yeah. I mean, his voice for Maul like reminds me, it's like kind of like the emo screamo band Maul, it's like I also think you're gonna start hearing like guitars going in the back, but no, but he does do, but he gives a good performance.
He did it all for the Wookiee.
God, oh man, what a painful couple of years for music, man. Anyways, but like his Maul performance though in Clone Wars is pretty solid, pretty solid for crazy Spider-Man Maul. But that said, like, I'm not somebody who needs like the voice actors to come back or whatever. I don't think it really matters for the most part. Is if they're doing a good job and you believe that in the acting, that the acting is the character, then I think it just tends to work. and when it's not working is when you're thinking about how it doesn't sound like, this doesn't sound like Hayden Christensen. I mean, we come up with that kind of cognitive dissonance when we got to Clone Wars and they recast the Anakin voice, and you watch 100 episodes of that, and then you go watch the 3 movies with Hayden and it sounds different. There's times when you're just like, hey, well, I just have to let this one go and kind of just roll with it. And so we'll have to see if they do a Clone Wars flashback. I'm interested in this idea because if they do a Clone Wars flashback with Hayden, directed by Dave Filoni, who did the Clone Wars with the other voice, who took away that deadpan-y kind of tone to it, what I actually think is a Canadian doing an American accent in a weird way. I'm curious to see if we end up closer to the Clone Wars voice or if he just does it how he does it. But it's an interesting prospect to me, anyways. But yeah, you guys want to answer this one? But from Mr. Chandler, who got in way early. See, Chandler got in super early. He's like, I'm gonna get in early. They're gonna answer mine first, and I was like, I'm gonna teach you to be punctual, Chandler. Chandler, with your name from Friends, so people probably just like you because they're like, oh, if I get a friend named Chandler, I'm like the guy on Friends. Says, is there more than 1,000 Mandalorians left in the galaxy? Boba and that Mandalore got glassed by the Empire, and Watch Culvert seem to be hiding their Beskar more than their religious beliefs. Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to how many there's supposed to be too, because it definitely looks like it's a little tiny amount of people. But when we remember the Clone Wars, there had to have been billions of Mandalorian people, and the years have not been too kind to them, I would think. So I'm going to imagine that's why the foundling concept for that cult might have been appealing and even worked to some degree. So I'm kind of curious. As to how they are going to depict that if we go to Mandalore next season, and you have, Din Djarin trying to be like, hey, I got the Darksaber, I'm the boss, everybody, and then there's how many people? There might be like 7 people there. They're like, okay, all right, yeah, you got it, dude. It's all yours, man. Yep. There's only 7 of us. That's cool. But I have a feeling
I've had the long-standing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think there's a good chance it's a good chunk of the Mandalorians have been decimated, but I think when it comes to Mandalore itself, I've been in the boat since day one, since whenever Boba said it was glassed over and all that. I think that is going to be a major base for the Empire, is what I've always felt, because if you listen to Bo-Katan, when Boba says it's glassed over, and then also even prior to that conversation, I believe Din mentions to Bo-Katan as well that Mandalore's haunted, and Bo-Katan basically says, you shouldn't believe every story you hear. And they never went back to that in season 2 of Mando. Never. So my question is, why did she say that? You shouldn't believe what you hear. Is it because is Mandalore just glassed over, or is it haunted, or is it maybe controlled by the Empire?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think, dude? Do you think that they're gonna do like kind of a thing where he just figures out that he was being lied to a lot? I mean, is that where you, where you guys see it going?
That's where I'm thinking. That's where I'm seeing. I think that was part of Din's thing. Even, that's part of his identity, getting lied to. I mean, look, Bo-Katan basically just tore down his whole belief system when she said, hey, you were basically working with this extremist group, or you grew up in this extremist group and you didn't know it. So I think he's going to find out more and more things along those lines. And I think Mandalore is going to be the next thing, because I could easily see us getting into this third season of Mando. And, them talking about going to Mandalore for some odd reason or another, and then Din pushing back, and basically Bo-Katan being like, no, just come along and see what's up.
Well, like who would give a shit about the sword and being Mandalore if there's nothing, you know what I mean? If there's nothing there. So that's how I'm looking at it. Like, at that point, does she just care about, does she just want to like hang that over the fireplace? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. So I think that there has to be something to it, or that whole plot thread is stupid and a waste of time in the big picture. That doesn't mean that can't happen though. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that either. TV shows mess up all the time, but
I think the t-shirt for season 3 should be, we got 99 Mandos, but a Minch ain't one.
Right?
Where's Grogu? Where is he? They should just hide him in the background. Like it's like a snarf hunt, but it's a Minch hunt now.
Minch hunt.
So like in Mando, did you see? And then at the end they go, did you see him? Did you see him? So that way they don't have to bring him back in the series. He just hides.
Well, she's like, we can't land. He's like, why aren't you landing? She's like, the planet, it's infested by little Minches. There's little Minches everywhere. They look like baby Yodas.
They're attracted to glass. They want to be collectible. You know,
they eat the glass.
They're like dozers. Thus completing right your whole dream of a little dozer like Minch village. Gosh, it's all together.
And then they're gonna make a glass eating Grogu Hasbro toy, but then the rumor is some kid ate glass, not coming out ever. And
I think of Dan Aykroyd's Johnny's bag of glass toy. Yeah. Johnny, it's a bag of glass. You give him a bag of glass. He loves it. It's good. It's fun for the whole family.
Man, on a side note, Rob, that Artie Lang stuff with glass is wild.
Yes, it is.
As a Howard Stern fan, he was snorting some drugs, and there was, when the lady was breaking the drugs up, she used a salt shaker or a pepper shaker, whichever, and little shards of glass broke off the bottom, and he snorted it, and like now his nose is just gone. He looks like Dr. Evazan now, which is sad. So don't do drugs, kids. That is the lesson. But
don't do spice.
Don't do the spice.
What, rocket fuel?
Rocket fuel, yeah. That's just like
rocket fuel up my nose. Okay.
Monster energy drink. Yeah. So Carl, but Ashley is still more Ahsoka to me than Rosario, and that's fair enough. But also give her a chance. She hasn't really got to really do the role. The show hasn't launched yet, and she had a bit part, whereas Ahsoka's had two or three series now to grow on us and all that jazz too, I guess.
And I'm one of those guys where the last time I saw Ahsoka, it was in the theater. That ain't something to be proud of. So.
Right? Yeah. There's like a couple of arcs that are worth your time in. I think in the one where she ends up leaving the Jedi Order, where like Tarkin frames her, and you kind of you don't really need to watch the other stuff. I mean, if you want to, I recommend it, but if you just want to like know some of the key points, like Tarkin kind of frames her, the Jedi don't stand by her, and it goes in you see why she's like, screw these guys, I'm going on my own, and it makes a lot of sense. Art. Yeah, and it's actually scored in Prague with like a real orchestra and stuff, so it doesn't mess around. Rick McCullum retired there. He moved there with his wife, who is from Prague.
That's where they shot Blade 2.
Yeah, Blade 2.
That's where you get those mean vampires, the alien, the Predator ones.
Oh, okay. I don't remember a thing about the Blade movies. I just know that they came out. I don't know. Are they? Do they hold up?
They're fun. I like the second one. It's just the problem with the second one is that it doesn't have like a big battle sequence. It has these like 7 samurai like vampire hunters, and then they never 7 samurai it up. They kind of get Transformers the movie like taken out. So that's kind of fun. But then there's this great stuff where it's early CGI replacement. Mm-hmm. So Wesley Snipes literally just turns into an anime character, like a CGI. Like he's actually doing anime moves, like really over the top, which I was a fan of the Fatal Fury anime films in the 90s, so I'm like, I know where they got these moves. Like, this is literally a Terry Bogard. Like, do it, you know? So, but the cinematography, I think Blade 2 holds up pretty well, all things. And then the first 5 minutes of Blade 1 is worth watching.
Do you think Woody Harrelson was the one who told him he didn't have to pay taxes, like when he was smoking pot?
Yes,
and he was
on
like
the money train. Yes,
and then on the money train, and then Wesley Snipes gets convicted, and then he's like in Star Wars, and he's like,
and then Wesley's like, everyone thought you. Woody's like, everyone thought you were the responsible one. Here I am, and then Woody's like, now I get all the True Detective jobs. Right? These could have been Wesley Snipes, but now they're mine. True
Detective season 1 was so good, and
so good. It's a movie.
Season 2 is just what? What are you guys doing?
Go to sleep.
Aaron is quoting Clerks 2 with what I want to say to season 2 of that show.
Don't say it.
Mark Hamilton says, instead of official, you jumped ahead of the line. So Mark Hamilton says Campia said what he said after his viewers were quizzing him on KRT, dropping the Menza Ezra as their scoop. So
he's so clever, right? Ever since he dropped that Batman scoop years ago, where Ben Affleck was out as Batman.
Oh, the Affleck
he actually
scoop.
Did it as he did it as an actual an actual scoop. Here, I've heard that Affleck is out. 1 second. Sorry. All right. But Campia, since every time he has a bit of info, he always prefaces, now this isn't a scoop. Right. I'm not saying this is a scoop. And it's just because he doesn't want that wall of hate. And then you go to the chats or the little comments, and it's just a wall of really doesn't matter if you preface it's not a scoop, right, Jason? Like, even if you go, this is my opinion, this isn't fact, they're gonna go, Jason, blah, 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 blah. So if she doesn't appear, you know, then they're going to be like, John really got it wrong. But it seems as though everything's lining up. That being said, I always go back to Matt Smith in Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. Everybody had that info, right? And
well, like I said, I had somebody at Pinewood who said that was like legit and told me that separately. And then, but there was a person in a licensing position who was spreading it to try to get their own to figure out where the leaks were coming from, but told the same story to everyone. And so there you go.
I got accused by licensing lawyers once for spilling concept art on the internet, which I didn't.
Yeah,
but it's just the way it worked out. And then like a week later was when Jeremy Renner went out and spoiled like Civil War or something. And so I snapped his little tweets. I'm like, you firing this guy next? Maybe you should talk to him.
Did you ever see when Jeremy Renner had his app? And his app had like a message board.
The Jeremy Renner app, yeah.
And when which is hilarious. And what ended up happening is when it would update, it would always update like Jeremy Renner says. And it would be like, hey guys, just having a good day, says Jeremy Renner. Well, if you use the message board, you could go on there and write you never go A to M, like in Clerks 2, and it would tweet out to the
Amazing
people
Spider-Man
in the thread that Jeremy Renner was saying it. So Jeremy Renner says never go A to. And then
that's hilarious.
So then what it ended up happening was it ended up becoming like a meme for a couple of days, and they just shut the site down. They were just like, fuck it, we quit. We're done.
It's too much trouble.
But speaking of Campia, he updated his Indiana Jones scoop about Phoebe Waller-Bridger being Bridger? It's Bridger, right? Bridge.
I think.
Yeah, Phoebe Bridgers is the Cobra Kai girl who sings the good songs. And then
sister to Jeff. Got it.
Yeah. My name is Jeff. Anyways, he says that she is actually the granddaughter of Marcus Brody, that he said it wrong or he heard it wrong. So, which I guess makes more sense, as I just figured maybe he had a 25-year-old wife or something. I don't know how Marcus Brody gets down. But I just know that he does, because I know if you party with Indiana Jones enough, you got to get down. Like you can't, you got to be able to hang. And he was
can
hanging
party
for
in
years.
15 different languages across 9 continents. You know.
So
yes, with Lil Nas, Jake Logan, whatever, you know, all those guys.
Jake Logan, they are.
Sure.
I want to see Harrison Ford celebrity box Jake Logan. No,
all the Logans party. Don't you know that, man?
It's true. Hey, we're lighting our pool on fire, and Harrison Ford is here. Anyways, they're filming Indiana Jones in this fancy pants place called Luton Hoo. We're going over to Luton Hoo to film the Star Wars.
You can see
movie.
why the Nazis were like, "This will be easy," you
right?
know?
I mean, they're like, you know what? They're like, we don't like white. I mean, we only like white people, but we hate these guys because they call it Luton Woo. But no, yeah,
I love that. Luton Who really should be one of those slug aliens JJ throws in a movie randomly.
Anybody have any idea what this is? Like, is this like a famous castle or something, or just a fancy pants house? I don't know.
It's very Downton Abbey. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's true. It is. So there you have that. And the cooler story was, for the record, just so people know, there's no priority in these right now, because if I Chrome tab things and I don't name the files beforehand, I just get the numbers and then I screw it up and I show first. But this I thought was pretty cool, because it's Shawnette Renee Wilson, and this is her costume in the film, which she looks like she maybe is in the Spin Doctors in the 1990s, or Little Miss Can't,
Chicago 7, right?
Little Miss Can't Be Wrong. No, I'm just kidding. But she definitely, it does look like the story about her being some sort of police officer or something like that, who is tasked along for the adventure, might be paying it, because I mean, look at her belt and stuff. That belt doesn't necessarily say I'm just stylish in 1969. It's like that's I have supplies. I don't know.
One step away from a Batman belt,
right? But that is a pretty rad costume, though. That's a pretty cool costume, though, I gotta say. And like
a little bit of belt trivia, right, on the Making Star Wars trivia show.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at a lot of the close-ups in the 1960s Batman TV show, you can see Adam West's bat belt half the time is just yellow sponges. Like sometimes they would do a random belt and it would just have these yellow sponges with clip arounds, like for some reason.
Look at that belt. Look at that belt.
I know, man. That buckle means you can't gain weight.
That and
and
this thing
right into you.
Probably has shark repellent like Batman had right here in this little section.
Snake repellent.
But yeah. I mean, but I hope they don't make her wear the mask the whole time. I hope she gets to show her face, you know? I don't want another Captain Phasma. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding.
All you do is see Mangold like tweeting in the reflections, right? Like remember the Spider-Man, when Spider-Man 3 came out, everyone was like, what's the reflection? Is venom in his eyes? What's in there? And then you zoom in, it's just Mangold going, motherfucking internet, man, I don't want you to do.
They're like, hire that guy who used to have to CGI out the reflections in C-3PO. We're gonna need him for this mask.
It's not the Luton Who, it's Mutton Poo. Jason Ward.
Jeez, man. They really have it out for me. And then there's another actor whose name is, I think it was Corey Peterson, and I'm not sure who they are, to be honest with you. But they tweeted this out, and I think it says, "View from today's green room and hotel, golf, and spa." So there we go. It's a golf course. But it looks pretty fancy. I hope Indiana Jones.
Very Corsican Brothers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, my late 80s Cinemax trivia going on there. Look at that.
Yeah. So hopefully Indiana Jones goes through it in a Caddyshack style golf cart, just screws the whole place up, just takes the whole thing down.
Oh, Jackie Mason pass.
Oh. You know, I actually like Caddyshack too.
I stand to tell you, it's it's a more complete film than the first film. Because the first film, it's like there's parts of it you like, and then you're like, who was the caddy? Who's the caddy? You don't even remember. You remember all the. You remember Bill Murray and but with Caddyshack 2, you remember the lead guy, and they made the lead guy a 60-year-old man.
Yeah,
which was like, not to tangent off, but there was this little movement in the late 80s between Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack 2, right? Where they were making the older men like leads, right? And the female lead was what's her face, and back to she was from Star Trek. She was in the Gary Mitchell episode.
Yeah,
Back to School. She's an amazing actress, and you're just like, wow, there was a movement there that went nowhere. Maybe it was after Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Maybe that did it. Like,
there was. It had new wave Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. Well, in Back to School,
and
Back to School, the son, right? Yeah.
No, he was the best friend.
He was the best friend.
It was
he played the shitty best friend all the time.
The weirdo from Carrie was the son, and then he was the best friend.
So my buddy from the Army, his sister briefly got into acting in the late 80s, and she was in what's that one with Robert Downey Jr. and Anthony Michael Hall, where he's like a college student, Johnny
Be Good.
Johnny Be Good. There's a scene in Johnny Be Good where they go to a restaurant and she's the actress. And she was just supposed to serve them coffee, but apparently Robert Downey Jr. actually let her say lines, said something to her so she'd say something back so she'd get credit, and she got SAG, healthcare and all that shit because of it.
So which proves the point that Robert Downey Jr. is new wave. Robert Downey Jr. is the best.
He's a mensch.
He's a mensch. So, okay. Oh, yeah. I don't remember if I read this, but Dez says that it's a sausage party in here, which is true. I lost the place in the chat because I was at Luton Who. Jumping. Oh, okay. So, how's it going, Luke? Jumping on live for the first time in a while. Really interested to see how they reintroduce Ezra in particular. Yeah. I mean, my guess is like post-war, like, drug addict, can't cope with the PTSD. It's just like, hey man, I got a crate on my back. Can you spare some credits so I could get a fix? And she's like, Ezra, it's me. And then he's like, Ahsoka? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm not that man anymore now. He's all I care about is getting my fix. And then
rocket fuel.
Rocket fuel, yeah. No, I'm curious if I don't know, the right term isn't breaking the fourth wall, but you know how when they do a cameo and they break the fourth wall, essentially, like where all of a sudden like everything stops and it's like, look, everybody, it's them. I hope it's not like that. Like I almost hope that they don't even acknowledge that it's special. It's just what's happening is important enough that, and then if you know who he is, then you kind of get caught up, and then it unravels naturally. Yeah.
I think there's a good chance we get a dialogue dump from Ahsoka herself, to some random patron like, I lost my Jedi friend Ezra, blah, 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 something like that. Like, because, not everybody watches the animated shows. So you're going to have to catch up the live action audience like that real quick. And, you're not going to be able to do it over however many episodes, like, because again, it just falls in the whole thing of like, how are you going to hook people that don't know who Ezra is? Like the Mandalorian was easy because they were new characters and you essentially have Baby Yoda. So that hooks everybody. But this show, it's going to be tough. I think just because, sure. You introduced like the Thrawn storyline. So obviously anybody who saw Mando season 2, they probably were like, oh, that's probably a really like a big bad guy or something that Ahsoka's looking for. So, now they're going to have to somehow explain how Ezra is in this show, maybe be like, or even have her just mention to somebody like, this Grand Admiral Thrawn guy took my friend Ezra, blah, 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 blah. I feel like we're going to get a dialogue dump in the first episode.
Yeah.
He's as Rendar.
As Rendar.
Yeah.
I want Dave Chappelle's Ashley Larry to voice Ezra Bridger. That's my dream. That's how you make it work. He's like, hey man, can you spare some spice? That will do it.
Charlie
Murphy. people are probably like, why does he keep wanting Ezra Bridger to be a drug addict? The Galactic Multiverse says, hey, Jason, a little off topic from Ahsoka, but did you see the article I DM'd you on Instagram about Howard the Duck being in the Marvel What If series? Looking forward to hearing the stream today. Oh, I probably missed that, but that's pretty hilarious.
I haven't seen that at all.
Yeah, I hope
if they could ever
back.
get Tim Robbins. You know what I mean? They could ever get Tim. I think get Leah. She seems down, but getting Tim would be the coup.
Yeah, it's. I remember reading a little bit of Howard the Duck that inspired the movie kind of era, and I remember it was a lot. It was a little more Frank Miller-ish in a way. I don't think that maybe that's not the best way to put it, but I'm curious to see how they reconcile that in the Marvel universe, or if they even like really do, or if they just kind of play with that as a gag.
Because he reads Playdoc. What's wrong?
He reads Playdoc. Yeah, that movie was so weird, man. And I'm like, is Marty McFly's mom really about to hook up with a duck? Is that really happening right now? Like it
his
almost,
feathers.
Yeah, he was down for it, man. He was like, yeah. Anyways, what a time, what a ride. Mark Hamilton says official announcements to their Disney PR red tape got to be a pain in the ass for Lucasfilm. Committee green lights and amendments, unofficial drops as a way of getting buzz out of there easily in drips. Yeah, but I like when it's like through the actors like that, I believe it. When it comes other ways, like in the past, like I've like released stories and people on Reddit would say like I was a Disney shill who was it was all controlled. It was to fool you and like all this crazy shit. And it's like, no, they really they don't really work like that usually. And like I said, like I think he's gone now, but like at one point when I tried to slow down on spoiler stuff, when they asked me to, before they, did what they did,
take it down.
They basically like Disney told me, ask us what you're going to put out, tell us what you're going to put out before you do it. So we have a chance to put it out ourselves, to say, go, hey, or to ask you not to. And that was and then in the end, like when I sent them anything, they just said Lucasfilm's not responding because like Lucasfilm has their own
spoiler department,
their own like policies, and the Lucasfilm one has always been not to comment on rumors, and because it's like one of those things where if they comment on every rumor, like is so and so in this, is so and so in this, then they eventually you can kind of figure out what's true. So they just don't say anything at all. That's how they've always done it. But
I mean, like if you get the script, you go, well, I got the whole script, so I'm thinking about just spoiling this. Cool. Like, what are they really expecting with that? Like, where does that go? You just show us what's in your hand, and then we'll know what to bet. like at that point, I had already spoiled like all of Force Awakens, right? Right. And then I had Lord Santeca. I had like the name for that one, sent that to them, and then he was just like 3 days go by. I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna run this. He's like, well, they're not responding. I don't know what to say, and I was just like, oh, I know what to say. Post. Yeah.
But
send me that check. Cha-ching.
Oh wait. It's the same. Aaron says it's the same people who want to reboot the sequel trilogy that want the Ashley redub. Yeah, and maybe I don't know. I mean, but it comes down to like change is good, Annie. Luke says Thrawn hiding out, pulling the strings with the warlords, Imperial Remnant, First Order, and various mining resources operations, searching for ways to bring Palpatine back to execute his contingency plan. Yeah. That would be what I would hope from it. I also hope that, like I said, if they are in that world in between worlds kind of thing, they may have access to certain like forbidden knowledge about the future or potential futures and that kind of thing. And so I'm hoping, like, what I want is I want Thrawn to come out of there bringing the First Order. Guys, it's gonna happen. You're like gonna do it. I've seen Starkiller Base. I've seen Palpatine come back. Like, I know it's gonna work. So now the First Order becomes more like their fervor for being right and it working is even like, it's more assured now. They have more to believe in. And then I'm hoping that Ezra in essence brings out the same thing in the Luke Skywalker side of stuff. Because that's like the other side of all of this is with Luke Skywalker showing up in Mando. And then now if we have Ezra being brought out of this place with Ahsoka, like, do we have a situation where Ezra does have to go to Luke? Like, do they have to meet up? Like, you would almost think so with what Luke's trying to like do, but does Ahsoka know who Luke is at this point, or all that kind of stuff? Like, do they get along?
Yeah,
they might.
I think the thing is what a lot of people are wanting, and I mean I wouldn't be opposed to it, but there's always been this like whole fan thing out there of people want Ahsoka and Luke to meet to basically talk about Anakin. Basically because the last time she knew Anakin, he was Darth Vader. So I mean there's that. So I think there's a decent chance that Ahsoka and Luke could meet. Ezra and Luke, I think they'll meet because I honestly think my feeling on the whole slate of, let's just say, the Mandoverse, these shows going on between 6 and 7, I think they're all leading up to the Avengers Endgame style movie or something, with Grand Admiral Thrawn being the Thanos of the basically the 30-year time gap, like in that timeline. I think that's the way this is building up, because to me, I don't know, just Thrawn doesn't come off as a just one-off series villain like Giancarlo Esposito was for Mando. Like he was an okay villain, I feel like. Thrawn is so much of a bigger, more like overall like saga-wide type of villain, and I think he's going to be the overarching character for all of those, really. And I think, heck, even Book of Boba, it's in that same timeline, and I think that show is going to eventually lead up to connecting with all of these shows as well. Even though a lot of us are thinking like, oh, we're going to get some crime stuff and this and that with Boba, but I think it will eventually tie all in. I think it's all leading to the same place, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm with Esposito. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's done. I think we're going to see some. I feel like he was smart at the end, so I think there's going to be a much more cunning snake kind of quality that comes out of that. I'm curious to see if they're able to make Thrawn into that, if that is what the project is, because if that's what it is, and when it's set, they are kind of taking us into the Heir to the Empire redo in a way. Maybe not officially.
That's 100% what I think is happening.
Yeah.
That's what I appreciate. I think they just
Ben's
basically
enthusiasm.
Adapted. I think they basically rough adapted Heir to the Empire. Like, sure, you can take out bits and pieces, but I think this is going to be the rough adaptation to Heir to the Empire, and it'll basically, it'll be it's a perfect way to head with these series, because what are we going to do? Are we going to get to a few years from now and they're just going to say, hey, we're just cutting all these off because, you can skip ahead another 15 years to The Force Awakens or something? Like, they're going to have to close it off some way or another. And I think the potential Kevin Feige movie is the culmination of all these shows, is because that's not coming out for, it's unknown.
That one,
so
that one, I'm not so sure. I mean, I'm not. If you're right, you're right. But I don't know if you would bring in an outsider who has all this other shit to take care of to be like, oh, and you're going to capstone it all. Like, you know what I mean? That's where I'm a little bit like if we were,
Feige's most likely to do a one-off thing that
and it's
could
his
go
thing.
Or is complete and it's his own thing. There's no, it's just, I get, well, he led a bunch of crossover films, but that's because he ran the whole studio. Yeah. I appreciate your optimism. The realist in me goes, they don't know what they're doing until someone pitches an idea in a room. Like Noel says, hey, Rogue One, the plans for the Death Star. And that's like a clear premise. I don't think the ideas come along. We have characters, and how can we weave stories around them? They come up with the story, and then the characters come from the story. And I've experienced this in my own life where I've conjured up stories where you're like, oh, I got this cool character. How do you make them work? You ever see like an old 90s Image comic where they just designed a cool character and then they're trying to figure out what the book's about versus coming up with the premise for the story and the characters come forward. So there's just no way I see at Lucasfilm that they're saying we have these cool characters, we have to use them. I wish they would. I agree with you. They should be pulling from EU and comics and everything else to like Marvel does to create their own cinematic version of those stories through, the melting pot way of telling stories. But I've yet to see them do any of that. They really seem to be like, Favreau came in, he had an idea for a show, and I think you should talk to so-and-so. And the premise was, probably, Lone Wolf and Cub as a Mando. It's a young Yoda. It's a baby Yoda.
The only thing is, though, I would say the only pushback on that would be the character we've been talking about this whole time, Grand Admiral Thrawn. He was in Legends. He was in the EU, and then they cherry picked him out for Rebels. So it's like, they literally have
villain that. But he was not at the same level of villain in that series as he was in the books. The books, he was like supposed to be the Sherlock Holmes tactician version of the Empire. The difference between Vader and Palpatine, and here's a smart guy who can figure this all out. And the way he comes off in the cartoon, which I did watch some of the Thrawn stuff. It comes across as just these meddling kids are foiling my plans, and that's that's not Thrawn. I get why they have to do it because of their way of telling the big bad episodes. But
I think the big deciding question becomes when you get to Thrawn later on. That's our new podcast.
After the Thrawn.
Yeah. Thrawn later on. That's so dumb. Anyways, when he gets out of there, does he come out of that little weird place he's in saying, I want to help Palpatine come back because he's my daddy. I love Daddy Palpy and I want my daddy back. Does he say that? Or does he go like, screw all of this, I could own all of this? And if he goes, I could own all of this, then I think that would be the more interesting story. If you sort of had an Imperial remnant that goes rogue, and then you could see you would end up having that three-way battle between the New Republic and both empires, Thrawn's empire and what's going to become the First Order. And then you could see how they are absorbed into the First Order, or maybe even the remnant and Thrawn's whatever it is end up becoming what's the First Order. There's I think there's interesting ways of doing that if they want to make Thrawn into something. But
the only confirmed movie we have, Jason, that we know is going to exist post Rise of Skywalker seems to be Rogue Squadron.
Right.
And do you think Patty Jenkins let's put Thrawn in there? I mean, he'd be a good tactician, type military type space battle villain.
Be after episode 9, though.
Yeah, that would be after episode 9. Yeah, so that would have to mean that Thrawn comes out of the series too. He'd have to come through.
Which I think he doesn't make it out of the 6 and 7 timeline. In that I think he gets I think he'll get killed by the time we wrap up all of these shows. Because it all falls on the whole thing of okay, if Thrawn would be such a big villain it's the whole thing. Like, you get in trouble with the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, sequels, whatever. Where was X character during these events? So, like with Thrawn, it's hard to say, oh, we're going to have him be this big villain, like say in the Mandoverse timeline, and then skip the events of the sequel trilogy and then go to Rogue Squadron. Like, I think his story and all of these characters we're interacting with right now, I think they're all going to be wrapped up in like Mandoverse era, and I don't see any of them making it past the sequel trilogy. Not as in, they would be dead or anything, but I don't think any of these characters will push forward to future films or shows unless
writing that down and holding it
unless we have.
No,
if it's on the internet, it's true.
No.
I think
you said it
could, because he could be like
you said it. You said it. No, you said it. We got it down.
And if you're wrong, nothing you say ever again counts, Ben. That's how this works.
No, imagine how Ahsoka is going to have a hilarious overall story if she leaves the Jedi Order right before Order 66, survives, lives another 30 years to join Luke Skywalker's Jedi Order, and then gets killed in a Jedi purge in that temple. Like, that's a shitty story for her. That's and almost pointless in a weird way. So I have
I don't think she gets killed in that purge.
Well, no, that's where I'm going with it. Is that it? I think that she is going to probably ultimately reject Luke Skywalker's plan to rebuild what she thinks was already a bad idea. And then obviously I do think my take, anybody's take is fine. My take is that she's dead by 9, though, because we hear the voice. I know it doesn't have to mean that. I know Filoni said it doesn't have to mean that, but I'm going with it probably means exactly that. They just don't want to write themselves
with that
in the
logic.
corner.
Hey, then Mace should be alive too, because we don't technically see Mace die. So Mace and Ahsoka could be hanging out on some planet, talking through the Force in episode 9.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, like I said, that makes them huge losers for not showing up at that end battle when all the ships come up. Where were they, man?
Lahu.
Yeah. The loser.
I know. I know. I was that kid. That was my thing.
Ray Park was the lead villain in his own Instagram, says Mark.
I like the wait. ...
The suspense
punchline. Mark Hamilton, man, he's got a vibe, he's got a flow,
But 1 point off for not putting 4 ellipses, which is Star Wars tradition. Noob. Sorry. Spider Mall. Got it. Okay, Luke says, wouldn't be surprised if Thrawn is hiding out beneath the surface of the glass Mandalore. Yeah, I mean, I like that's the I'm wondering, like, if that series, when they go like to find Ezra, is he just like did they just teleport through like time and space time? Like, did they essentially do the real life version of Lightspeed? Like, is he going to be like essentially the same age, or has he aged all that time too?
Well, my interpretation from the end of Rebels, I think, so the Purgils, they can travel through hyperspace. So my thing with that, I mean, I've always had kind of like a wishy-washy issue with the whole Thrawn and Ezra thing anyways. Don't get me wrong, I want them to be alive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like they get sucked away through hyperspace. Like, wouldn't that like crush them, like, like physically? But I mean, setting that point aside, I think it's just, they were with the Purgils, they get sucked away through hyperspace, and maybe they just get marooned somewhere, and they're literally living there for like the next 20 or 30 years, however long, until we see them again in the Ahsoka series.
Like Enemy Mine. You ever seen that movie?
Yes, with Louis Gossett Jr. and poor man's Kurt Russell.
Yeah, maybe it's like an enemy mine, or maybe Ezra's buried one of those Purgles. Like, this is my Purgle wife. Don't judge us. We love each other. Our love may be forbidden in your culture, but here on planet Ezra, it is much appreciated. Richie says, "Hey Jason, any more prequel behind the scenes stories? Did Hayden and Natalie actually date?" So that one right there, I always felt like was just made up. I never heard anything that made me think that was real. Were Hayden and Ewan...
I put a Polaroid up there for you, buddy.
A Polaroid
that's from the Photo Archives book. Yeah.
Wait, what?
It's
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's an actual Polaroid on set of Hayden and Natalie.
Can you zoom in on them?
Yeah, let's zoom in. Does that look like she's interested in him?
It looks like maybe she's more interested in him than he is in her.
He's definitely not like, Meanwhile, want to see George?
Yeah.
Check it out. Look at that fruit.
He's all catch that fruit. Catch it.
Then look at them nayberries.
He's all are you falling in love, Naberry? Are you falling in love?
It rhymes. It's a rhythm. The rhythm's gonna get you.
Oh, George, you're crazy.
Want to see my ranch? I'm such a dick, dude. I love George. I love
too easy. Too. I think I love your George more than real George.
You mean the George that's not doing Diane Stewart interviews on ABC in 1989?
I'm just a single father. I'm just a single dad.
And he gets real. He goes, I just want to get married. And he's looking at her, right? Like, yeah, I think you do, George. But I was just like, how many Polaroids on set do we have? And let alone no blue screen. Like, this is the one time they didn't have any giant blue screen, right?
God, there used to be this article or a couple of articles with Spielberg talking about how, like, when George got divorced, like, he thought he had like the perfect marriage. So when he got divorced, it like rattled him. He was like, whoa, and then he gets divorced right after.
He's like, now I can marry my actresses.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah. He's all, there's no HR yet. I'll do what I want.
Steven's getting even. That's my sequel to what was that show on HBO at the fucking all the PR guys, dude.
Oh yeah, I never saw it, but I
you know what I mean. Where it's like all those PR guys in Hollywood. Like, that's my '80s version of that with Steven Spielberg. Steven's getting even. And it's just his how Kathleen Kennedy has to clean up all of his mess and make him look like he's a goody two shoes, but at night.
Spielberg, McCollum was always talking about how he cast Natalie Portman because she was like a young Audrey Hepburn. And then meanwhile, you have Spielberg going around going, this guy won't get married again. He just wants Audrey Hepburn.
He wants Heidi Flies.
Yeah, I was like, you guys, yeah. He was in the little book.
He's in the book.
In the book,
the little Minch book.
Lucas Gotts needs to. That's the takeaway. Lucas is a person with needs as well.
I'm a toydarian.
He's all, and I want you to address. I'm a toydarian. He's all Matoidarian. I'm a Toydarian and you're Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah.
I own her rights now,
I own her rights. So I just like that George took credit for that costume. It's like, I came up with the choker.
This is my idea. I'll choke him.
He did. It was like, George, just go drink some Starbucks.
It's George Lucas. What's he gonna do? He lives on his own.
There's your inside info. To get back to the Ezra thing, I am prepared. It's just not the way you think. I just see Ezra as Aladdin and Thrawn as Jafar and the Purgles as carpet.
Right.
Like,
there we go.
If you just keep that, in the Well of Souls is the adventure. Like they're just going through there.
Make Grogu the monkey. Why not? Give him the
he
little hat.
Fezzes. Yeah,
give him a little fez and
bad dates.
There you go.
Oh man. So what does Anakin Skywalker of the Fallen Jedi, aka Darth Vader, have to say? He says, "You think the last 3 episodes of Bad Batch will be any good? They better be, especially after last week." Yeah, my takeaway is that they probably did the equivalent of whiteboarding the season, where they're like, this story, and this story, and then they had agreed on the stories that they wanted to like do. They put it all together, and then they're like, where the hell does this one go? And
shit episode goes here.
It goes right in between. This one standalone, stands in between these 2 episodes, and I wouldn't be surprised if something from that episode maybe probably doesn't, but maybe plays into it. Like, why is the bartender so nice to us now, and that arc or whatever? It probably has something like that. But, and man, the Deveronian, the devil looking dude from the last episode, that voice did not match, but it was Buster from Arrested Development. They got Buster, and that's what they did with him. That is the true travesty. Is that because he could have been drinking juice boxes?
Roland, which, by the way, not for nothing, was also the name of the best sound card that LucasArts recommended back in the early 90s, the Roland 32. And so I'm like, is that a video game reference? Because the old nerd in me says if he's got a creative blaster, I'm going to fucking lose my mind.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Joel says, Lightsaber Lost, A Friend in Need are 2 great Ahsoka episodes. Yeah, those 2 episodes, and maybe I think you might enjoy the Predator episode, the Predator homage with Chewbacca and her, where they are hunted by Bosk,
that kind of
Bosk
Predator.
Guys, that kind of Predator, not the other kind. Mark
that's a pretty good arc.
Yeah, no, I love that one.
Yeah.
Mark says Gozer's eating glass, no different than 45 in Bleach. Gozer.
I was like, Gozer is with the bubble chick and the heels and the weird eyes.
Yeah, Gozer.
Which, by the way, people forget Gozer was a half naked woman in bubble wrap and a buzz cut. Like, let's just be honest. Like, that's amazing. True. That is way better than Ghostbusters 2. Trust me.
And it worked. I mean, I don't know though, man. I mean, I'm not making any kind of judgment here, but Vigo is no slouch. I'm just saying. Vigo, no slouch.
He's got this head that the Kurgan would be jealous of.
Yeah. He definitely looks like he could wear like a flannel and be like a dad on Full House who pulls next to Danny Tanner and it's like, I'm gonna beat you up for cutting me off. And they're like, and then the Olsen twins say something, and they're like, uh-oh. And then it's Vigo.
It's the road rage on the road rage episode of a very special Full House, right? I had to learn
the one where Danny gets shot. That one.
Yeah, that is modern Full House, man. Like, you know what happens? It's not my first shooting.
You know what happens. Anakin goes on to say, what are the odds of us seeing more of what happened in the Jedi Temple during Order 66? We need to see more of Anakin and Vader at the time. Man, they're just like little kids just getting dismembered.
Oh, no.
No, and it gets worse. He puts the lightsaber away and he just starts using his fist.
David Fincher confirmed, right? Like he's I'm willing to come back, but it's just called slaughter.
Well, the funny thing is we joke about that, but right around the time of all these announcements last year, there was talk that went around that when they showed the Kenobi stuff, apparently Deborah Chow showed some concept art of Anakin as like quote unquote Darth Vader in the temple. So make of that what you will, but apparently that's what they showed, like the whatever Disney shareholders or people who were, viewing it on their end, because, on our end, when we were watching it, it cut, but apparently that's something that went around quite a bit last December. Remember when all of that came out. So, is that true? Is it not?
So what I think happens is it's all a big like misunderstanding, and what happens is that Darth Vader goes back to the Jedi Temple sometimes, and he goes there when he feels sad and he misses his Padme and he misses his little red bearded friend, and so he goes to their room, which has bunk beds, and he gets in the top one. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan,
it's a pod racer bunk bed. Hold on,
and like... he gets in the top one, and then Obi-Wan shows up to like steal some ancient Jedi text. He doesn't want to leave there. He forgot. And then he goes and goes, oh, I'm just sleepy. And then he gets in the bottom bunk. And then they both wake up at the same time every day. They always did that. And they both jump out at the same time. And they're like, you. And then that's how it starts. And they're like best friends, though. They like make up. But then at the end of it,
kids are not all right.
They have a falling out because he remembers that he burnt his wiener off. That happened.
That very happened. Special Stand By Me. Instead of a leech, he just lightsabers his pecker off.
Well, I mean, no, never forget that. I mean, like during all of that episode, no matter what happens, Darth Vader had his wiener burnt off by Obi-Wan. No matter what. If you're ever like, oh, why is he so mad? Oh, dark side, too much. Remember that. No, he has every reason to be really mad. And Chandler says, Under Filoni's Hat is the greatest name for that segment.
Ooh, and hold on.
Under Filoni's Hat.
I got to make some graphics, by the way. We got to do This Is So Wizard.
Yeah.
And Under Filoni's Hat and Cataline's Corner.
I want somebody to convince Filoni to start wearing the hat again, but to wear it with a feather in it. Like, wouldn't that just be even worse if you had a feather in it?
That would be great.
You know, man, it's that Key and Peele thing where Andre 3000 is, where he has to go back and he's just wearing that elf outfit and he's paying for everything in like tokens and coins and jars, and he's got the feather.
It's got the feather now.
It's not 2099. It's not 3001.
I like David. He's Mr. Lozano. He's just like, no, don't explain shit. Let's hit the ground running. And I'm like, yeah, that is
that's
Star
JJ.
Wars.
But that's JJ. That's literally how we're just gonna go in there. We're just gonna get it, and we're gonna get the movie, and we'll make an editing room. We could do it. Doesn't work.
Yeah,
we didn't have time.
Eric says Ezra comes in screen, holds for applause like the Fonz. Yeah, and then he hits C-3PO.
These are confirmed for Star Wars, right?
Yeah, right.
I had to get that in, Jason. Forget it.
Buddy Holly. Richie Cosell says, does Lucasfilm extreme secrecy frustrate you guys? It can really take the fun out of things sometimes. Yeah, it really, truly does. It's like, on one hand, I think that they're doing things in a modern way. So I don't know. I don't think a lot of times other franchises will have like behind the scenes reel at some point, and they'll do that sometimes. But for the most part, you explained it
perfectly though, Jason. It was like a few episodes back when you were like, if they had a weekly like George Lucas Select Under the Hat Filoni whatever thing, they would control the spoiler narrative talk in a way on the internet versus a lot of those like Voldemorties just making up weird spoilers because there's nothing to talk about. Like if they had a weekly every week, you're going to get some inside bit of info. The majority, they don't, I think they're missing that completely, and they really should, because I mean, it's fun to speculate, but you guys know, like some of these people, it goes from speculation to we better get that or nothing else is going to work. And that's a bad thing.
Oh, 100%. Like too many people, in my opinion, speculate all you want, but leave your expectations at the door when you go into the theater or press play on your Disney Plus service or whatever. Like, leave your expectations, like obviously be excited for it, but don't be like, if they don't follow my script, it's going to be a bad show. Like, don't go into it like that, or you will definitely be very disappointed.
Well, that's where they have to do maintenance. Like they have to do some maintenance on that, or that gets out of hand.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say is I think with the Filoni idea, I think it's a really good one just because Filoni, obviously we all know how, let's just say divisive the Star Wars fan base can be at sometimes. Like maybe the thing is like with breaking news. If no one knew that, the Star Wars fan base can be a little divisive. But I think with Filoni, he is a really good, like, middle ground to the fans. Like, everybody loves him no matter what you do or don't like about Star Wars. Pretty much everybody loves Dave Filoni. So, like, I feel like with Lucasfilm, they've lost perspective on a lot of their fan relationship and PR, in my opinion. And I think with something like that, like just a weekly little 10, 15-minute thing like the Star Wars show does on their channel, like just do a little Dave Filoni segment, and that'll be kind of like an olive branch to all the fans to keep everybody in the loop. Obviously you don't have to show your whole hand, but Dave Filoni, that would be like a really good, just a really good little thing. And what's 15 minutes?
He could be like, see this feather in my hat? Represents fan unity.
Yeah,
everything's fixed. Everything's fixed.
This is how I make changes to the script when you demand it. He pulls it out and goes, "Look there, Ray, Thrawn, boom."
Yeah. Lozano says Gideon got more up his sleeve, and Thrawn will be there. Thanos,
guys, Thrawn ain't Thanos. Just chill out, man. Like, that's the thing, dude. Like,
I hope they could write Thrawn. I think that's kind of what you're getting at. Am I reading you right there? That it, like the books wrote Thrawn in a specific way, would they have enough time, hundreds of pages, to be like, he's a tactical mastermind, and you're like, whoa, narrator, I believe
he's
you.
Sherlock Holmes as a villain. I mean, Pelion is Watson. I mean,
yeah,
and that's not a negative, but there at some point, the formula goes so far, and even Sir Arthur Conan Doyle constantly tried to get rid of Holmes, but people kept wanting him back, and he's like, this is ridiculous. I gotta conjure up these fucking. The only person I think who could write Thrawn has to be able to write a mystery novel, and who do we know can write a mystery whodunit movie, right? Like, who do we know out there in Star Wars land who's pretty good at that?
Sounds like an SJW story to me, and it makes me
man, Star Wars junkie warrior, right? So I just this whole Thanos thing is funny, because if you remember before Infinity War, the complaint was, here's this bad guy we ain't never seen before. He's just gonna show up and kill all the fucking Avengers. No one cares, he's at the end of a movie. He can't do it himself. But they nailed the landing on those films so well. The narrative after goes, man, who's gonna be the Thanos of the next? Who's gonna conjure this up? So that can be any villain with the right vision and then execution. And right now, I just want to see Lucasfilm have a unified vision for what their future is going to be. Like Snoke could have been the next Thanos if they'd written a better character, but they didn't. Right. So,
yeah. I'm with you. Hey, Santa, Star Wars Santa, everybody, make sure you check out Star Wars Santa show. Pretty good stuff.
So good.
I think if we ever get like a huge script leak, we should cut out like little fortune cookie size pages of the script, and we should mail them to Santa. And like every day up to Christmas, he'll pull one out of his beard and be like, "Oh, what is this? Oh, I hate sand. It's coarse, rough, and it gets everywhere." That would be great. That's how I would. David says,
"I never thought Santa could pull." My entire life, Jason. You just merged two of my favorite things: the fortune cookie at the end of the Chinese buffet trip my family would take once a week, and Santa Claus. Like how Santa doesn't pull out little nuggets of wisdom from his beard. My God,
and all we need to do now is to get Santa to deliver the feather to Filoni so he could put it in his hat and say unity. And bring us all together.
Or Dudley Moore delivers it. Either way,
a drunk Dudley Moore. Holographic resurrected Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore is Silicious Crumb.
Right.
Right.
David says Feige is probably going to do a rando one-off with a bunch of loose ends for multiple sequel possibilities if it hits with audiences. Yeah.
Do you think he'll do the first Jedi story that was circling around?
I don't know. I really don't.
That was big for a while. There was the idea that they were thinking about the first Jedi. Would that be something?
I feel like that was always an assumption, though. You know what I mean? I always felt like that was them assuming or people assuming what else could it be, and that's where they would jump right to. But
because when Patty Jenkins, when they announced the Rogue Squadron thing, I initially thought that's the Feige thing, because that sounds like something that's more loosey, could be more, could not be, the way he was sort of describing the film. And then when it wasn't, I'm like, well, all right, so will it be more Roger Squadron?
Right?
like on a side note, when you hear JJ and WB is developing an African American Superman movie, and then simultaneously HBO Max goes, "Oh, we're also developing Val Zod with Michael B. Jordan," and then you're like, is the same studio competing with itself? Like, that is the strategy. I haven't said that'd be like what studio made Twister? Making two Twisters, or Armageddon and Disney's making Armageddon and Deep Impact just to see which one goes the way. Like, that would be so weird to me. So I just, it can't be like a Starfighter film at this point, right? So
no, when it comes to the Kevin Feige one, like, my assumption was the same as yours initially. I was like, I don't care. It's going to be like a one-off thing, maybe cool, who knows? But with Michael Waldron, that guy does not seem to write tiny things. His things seem to be,
he's writing
seem to kind of like explode out there. And so I would not be surprised if though you are ultimately right in the sense that it does become a Feige saga off of that. If it could go that way.
Mos Eisley film, bro. We're
right?
All way off. So.
Yeah, I mean, somebody from Rick and Morty would rock that. That's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you just think about the guy. Like, maybe it's not as meaningful as we all would hope it to be, right?
Yeah,
it's just this one-off.
Reboot the Ewok movies,
right? I mean,
we have Wilford Brimley 3D scanned. We can do it.
The Galactic Multiverse asks, do you think Filoni has ideas outside of his pitches he hears for shows and movies? I think Filoni definitely has an idea of where he is headed with his projects. I would think that he has, like, he always seemed to be someone who thought, like, oh, if we do these stories, we could have it culminate with this. So I think so. And I would have to imagine that in jumping to live action for him, it probably, I would think, reinvigorated I would assume, his passion for making things. When you keep making 22-minute cartoons for a long time, and then you get to turn them into little mini movies at best, that at some point had to have been like a huge kneecap for him. Can't get up from here, nowhere to go from here. Well, yeah, so I would imagine if he was able to go free. Yeah. Go on.
Oh yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I mean, I agree. Like, I think with Filoni, it's good that he's finally making like the jump to live action Star Wars, just because, it's like the whole thing, if anyone's a sports fan at all, it's like if you're a coach in college football for 20 years, you eventually want to make the jump to the NFL at some point. And that's, Filoni, he's doing fine and all with animation, but I'm sure as a creative, I'm sure he's also like, he's probably paid pretty well. Hey, I want to, challenge my critics, basically, because a lot of people for the longest time before we had the live action stuff we have had in Mando with Filoni, it's like, okay, he's the animation guy, but can he really direct live action? And I think he's shown that he improved from season 1 of Mando to season 2 with his episodes that he did.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I can just see Filoni walking into Catalin's office, and he goes, Catalin, more Radioland murders. Huh?
So Radioland murders, but it's an animated series.
It's a what the done it.
It's it's anime now. Yeah, I think. I mean,
it's just Miyazaki going, "I'm kill them all."
No, I mean there is a chance too that for all we know, he might dabble in live action and prefer animation. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah,
it's a different process. He might be way more comfortable. In the end, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you never know. And I think that he probably respects animation a lot more. So I haven't really heard him speak about that too much. Does he view it as ascending, or does he just see it as another gig. You know what I mean? Because on one hand, to do that would be, or to say that would be to sort of diminish the work of, or the meaningfulness of animation. So
those are the kinds of questions that would have been nice for Favreau and them to ask him on those roundtable, interviews they did on the Star Wars show that was supposed to be like the Dinner for Five thing, making a Mando, and they were just sitting around juicing each other up for like 40 minutes, and I was like, ask him about the difference.
The thing about Filoni is when he doesn't know what to do, he just puts the hat on and has all the answers.
He's not Santa. You can't just pull things out of your beard. You gotta do the work, Filoni. You can't just go in there and edit. You're not Ben Burt. We got Ben Burt, right? We got him in a closet.
Dude, they seem to really have changed with the next behind the scenes stuff. They seem to hate him now. They're just literally like yelling at him, saying he's not Santa.
I don't think you're taking this seriously, Jason.
And Favreau pulls the feather out of his hat. He pulls it out. It's messed up, man. But David also says Ezra's gonna be Thrawn's evil force using understudy, though, right? Maybe. Like I said, like, do those guys just end up in separate places? Are they still in the weird place? Like, I don't know how all of this stuff washes out, Mr. Hamilton says keep Thrawn and his fleet out of the sequel trilogy in unknown regions so they can continue post sequel trilogy. That could be, or it would be funny if they show up to Exegol like 1 day late, they had some Star Destroyer trouble.
It's like the Mulan thing when they show up in Mulan, it's all.
It's like
it's like Wally's World, right? They got there close. Hey, everybody, didn't you see the moose?
Yeah, and he's just like, he's like, well, I guess I'm emperor now. Here we go. I mean, there are ways of continuing the fight. Like it's ridiculous. All of it's ridiculous, but the war, it's called Star Wars. It continues forever, right? It's always this nonstop war. Always a war with those guys. Galactic Multiverse. In the new canon, Thrawn is a very similar character to his EU character. Yes, there are differences, but he's still the Sherlock Holmes tactician. So that's good to hear.
He's definitely that character in current canon as well. I mean, you can see it just like in the episode when he captures who's the Mandalorian chick? Can't think of her name from Rebels. Sabine. When he captures Sabine, when he captures her, I mean, like he literally, like, it's basically him talking about how he's the reason he was able to capture her. Like he studied her culture, fighting tactics, blah 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 blah, like all this stuff. Like, and then even in the
turns out all we had to do is put
like the final episode,
in the middle of the room.
But even the final episode when he has the whole big plan of letting the rebels like basically take the base, so then he can just blow the entire city away while his troops are like trapped inside. So like he definitely has the Sherlock Holmes vibe in current canon.
Has anyone done a Photoshop of Aladdin with the blue genie turning into Thrawn? That should be the poster.
Ooh.
That should be the poster.
You got a Thrawn in me. That's Toy Story. Damn it. I don't know that song. What is the genie song?
I don't know. He's just like you never had a friend like me. You never had a friend like me.
Oh, big stupid.
You never had a friend in me with some Craigslist stuff. We don't want to talk about.
Joss wrote that. That's what he wrote in Toy Story.
Mark Hamilton.
You've got a friend as Toy Story.
Ahsoka and Ezra, Mando, Grogu were taking care of Thrawn during the sequel trilogy. He's like, I've hurt my legs, and I'm really good at context clues. The Galactic Multiverse, Thrawn will definitely come into this saying he can own the galaxy.
Never take Thrawn to an escape room. You're not going to have as much fun as you should.
Thinking about it more, Jason, like I think your idea that you mentioned earlier, that maybe Thrawn coming in, basically we could get like an Empire versus Rebels versus Thrawn's fleet or something, just because maybe Thrawn will be like, hey, the Emperor failed. Like, because coming into this, he would know the Emperor's gone, so maybe he'll be like, hey, he failed, and I know what to do. Like,
do you think Thrawn knows like Palpatine's state? And like his plan is like, I'm just gonna get next. He's like this. Like, he has his like hands claps like he does. He's like, I'm gonna get next to him, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of him. Like that's his whole plan. Tactician. He's like the guy can't hang.
He's Jean-Claude Van Damme in Street Fighter. I'm going to kick his ass so hard.
Van Damme as Thrawn would rock. That would be great.
Do you like some cookies? Do you want some milk?
With Steven Seagal as the other guy. As the
who's the other guy? Pelion.
Pelion, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Chunky Seagal, dude. I love
him. David says, I will ask Hayden on Saturday at Celebrity Fan Fest if they dated. Yeah, do it. Come back with the scoop.
And he just kills you.
Like, get the scoop.
But you have to phrase it as a loaded question. Go, dude, why did you dump Natalie Portman? And then he'll be like, no, I didn't dump her, she dumped me. And be like, oops. Or it'll be like, what's his name? What's that guy who did like remixes and everybody liked him? Who said he dated Natalie Portman but didn't?
Moby.
Moby, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You might be setting Hayden up to be the next Moby. Because he's like, man,
he's like, that was Moby, wasn't me. It was the Mobies.
I had to say, yeah, I didn't want to let the fans down. And then Natalie Portman said we totally didn't because I was Canadian. But
is Canadian is like the way to be cool, or like I'm Canadian, like like yay, they have healthcare, but they're Canadian.
Nah, if I could, I'd probably live in Canada. It looks really nice. Like Vancouver looks like
maybe now with the forest fires, but yeah.
Oh, is it all on fire right now?
Everything's on fire, bro.
They need to go back to the ancient text of Strange Brew. Have you seen that? You just drink a bunch of beer.
You've seen Jedi 17 times. Yes, I have seen it, my friend.
Of course.
Lord Santeca's in that freaking movie. So bring it back to your spoilers.
Santa's telling Dale, looking forward to getting your bad batch predictions. Yeah, I did one on the show, and I was like the lowest scoring person in the whole thing. Yeah, I was like, there you go. That it helps get scoops when you're really bad. People are like, no, you're so wrong, dude. You're so stupid. You're frustrated. Here's what happens.
Here's what happens. This is so bad. Like, you're not even close.
Mr. Denton says Thrawn getting taken out by Snoke. Hux said it would be cool.
No, you can't look, guys. You can't have a great villain then get chumped out by some secondhand Snokes. Like, you just can't do it. Like,
okay. Wait, hear me out, though. Hear me out. It's like an Imperial-controlled planet. Thrawn's walking along at night. He has a bag of peanuts. Just
Rendlesham Forest. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Rendlesham style is walking through Rendlesham Forest at night. He comes to this underpass, and then there's like 5 Snokes. Like, hey, mister. And he's like, and then it's like a Clockwork Orange. They're wearing the underwear cod pieces.
They all look like David Prowse. Got it, right?
Yeah. And they're all Snokes, and they just beat the shit out of him and murder him. And that's how he goes down. He doesn't go down by 1 Snoke. He goes down by 5 Snokes.
What if Snoke was really a Snork and we just misread his name?
Snork.
He cut his horn off. Like 7 Samurai, right? And that's the top Snork, right? And then now he's the lone Snork.
In college, his name was Snort. You get it? You see how he got that? That's how he became a lawyer.
Yeah. Oh man, that's how he lost his nose. Ooh, too early.
Artie Lang style. Snoke was the space Artie Lang.
Oh no.
Yeah. A Twilight was just like
Artie gets around. Don't make fun.
Right. No, I love Artie for the record. It just
yes, I do.
We got.
I actually saw Beer League in the theater, so
I too
not
saw
a great film,
Beer League in the theaters. Not a great film, but it became so referential on the Stern Show. I was glad I did.
Yeah, and I was like, man, Ralph Macchio's aged really well.
Old Macchio, man. Red 5, what's up, dude? I love this guy. Red 5 Strong is a cool guy. He says, what's up, boys? I pray for an opportunity to have Portman back in some fashion before episode 1, perhaps. Yeah, that's what I was talking about a couple of days ago. I was like, it's a shame they killed Padme, because it would have been awesome to have her alive in some way and doing stuff in between the sagas, and to have had a better death. I mean, see, because like, at one point, like Anakin choked her out and she died, or she died from the injury sustained.
The
from
fact
being
that you say
out.
that is true, and I mean, it's just wrong.
Yeah, no, and it's like they were like, oh wow, we don't want to make our hero a wife beater. Like, that's not a good look. That's not what we want to go. So then they're like, she died of a broken heart, and it's like that is one of the things where I'm like, man, you want to know what's funny though? I'm not even kidding. I have an uncle who literally died, died that way, died of the broken heart. He had
when
a
he
wife.
Was 80, right?
No. Here's what's crazy.
He was probably 90 or 100 or something.
No. He had a wife who was almost 20 years older than him, and she was 40, and he met her when he was 20, and then they got together, and they had a great marriage, great everything. And then when he was 40, she died, and then less than 6 months later, he died. And it was just he just totally shut down, and just that's where it went. So I was like,
but she just had 2 kids.
Yeah.
And then one thing I know from an 80s family that got divorced many times, the parents, they hold on to the kids for money, for love, whatever you want.
She's like, this guy's going to be a Sith Lord. I'm going to take him for all the galaxy.
He just became the second head in the galaxy. You know how much alimony I'm going to get for this? Trade Federation. Sanctions.
So I'm gonna buy Lot Dodd's house. But
I'm gonna open up a Canto Bite, she's the code. What if she had been oh wow, there's a whole thing there, right?
What if we see her in episode 8? What if she's back in Canto Bite? She's she's smoking, she's all she's been just out of slot the whole time. Just never. She never died.
She's got her and Jar Jar fight over. She walks away. Jar Jar walks up. Misa's clean. Oh, that's mine.
Yeah, I would watch that. I would be okay with
that. On a fun note, what are the chances you get if we're doing these Clone Wars flashbacks? What if they sneak her in?
Yeah,
they call me slave berries now.
There's a chance, or
God, I don't know if I can't remember if I shared this story or not, but I might have. But I'll tell it again because it's kind of on topic. When I was doing episode 8, was it episode 8? I think it was episode 8. Yeah. Basically, one of my sources tells me, hey, I, believe it or not, am looking at Natalie Portman walking around in her underwear at Pinewood. And then I'm like, that sounds awesome. And wait,
Rick McCollum is nowhere to be found. Yeah. He just leaves, right?
No. And then, as sources hilariously do, I don't hear from them for 5 days. I got the one text message and they left it at that. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to read in between the lines. I'm like, well, clearly they don't want me to report she's walking around in her underwear, even though that sounds rad. But what I'm like, yes. So she must be in episode 8. And I'm guessing that they're telling me it's okay to write this because they're not writing me back. And it turns out that she was in that other space movie. Might have been the one with Oscar Isaac even, and that they had, and is that what it was?
It was Arrival.
No,
I can't remember.
No, I don't think so.
That sounds right.
It was it? Okay, yeah. I can't remember what it's called now, but it was that Natalie Portman space movie. And yeah, I guess they had actually rented out one of the stages at Pinewood. And so there was a little bit of like, oh, I'm just going to put this stuff away or whatever. I have no idea what they were doing. I didn't.
That is so dangerous though, right? Like, because that is accurate info. Mm-hmm. It is a legitimate scoop, but it's just coincidentally right next to the other space movie that she worked on in this film. I mean, what are the odds of that happening like that? Never told me the odds, kid, but that is literally. And then you run it, and then like, you got it wrong. It's a rival. I'm like, but even if that's the case, like, that is crazy that it's next to them shooting episode 8.
Yeah. It was like I even had a draft written up, but I ended up erring on the side of caution and was like, what if the source isn't giving me permission? And so I was like, I'm going to wait for permission. And so
I finally got that a scooper's life is a whole premise for a show, but I really think if Jason and what's his face, Larry
David.
Larry David got together and wrote scoops, right?
Let's do it, man. I'm ready.
Just the average guy. Do I put the underwear story, or do we want the chicken nuggets? I'm coming to figure out the underwear, the chicken nuggets, and the Popeyes chicken nuggets, and look, the line down the street. It's an 8-mile line. Hold on, like, do I do it? Do I don't?
Do I not? And at the end of every season, you get canceled again. Dale says, I'm holding out for a trailer of some leaks at Star Wars Santa. Yeah, Santa, bring us the trailer, man.
Santa's like, I'm leaking, but it's because of my age.
I'm literally immortal. But, what if Santa's a Highlander? You ever think about that? like what if the only way
again? My challenge to Dennis Lawson stands. You know, I'll fight him and Santa. Well, I don't want to beat up Santa. Santa does outweigh me by at least 40 pounds. So, you know, there's that. But my challenge to Dennis Lawson stands.
You're going down, Lawson. And he only hates him because of Jamie Lawson from Small Wonder. Mark Hamilton says, sorry, Dozer, Fraggle Rock, autocorrect fell. Man, I love that Fraggle Rock song. I just sing that all the time in my kids. Yeah, like the bass line's all there, but I just remember like dance your cares away, but I hit a point where I don't know the words, so I just start making them up and I just yell things at my kids.
Going to the Circle K, gonna get an icy,
yeah,
and a soda pop,
pop, and a soda pop, pop.
Pop rocks.
Dell says, I have ideas. It began on Coruscant. Here, I'll remove him off the camera for a sec. Remind me to add him back when he comes back. I have an idea.
He needs a puppet stand-in, by the way.
Right. I have it on Coruscant, and it'll be revealed this episode. And then Skew Top, Bop, Skitty Top Top. Skew Top says, hey, Jason, I was just wondering if you think Kenobi will have any deeper Force lore, connecting not only more Force ghosts and more mystical side of the Force, teasing what could come in Ahsoka. Cheers, Elliot. Hey, Elliot. Elliot, I hope so, man. Like, that is my wish. My hope is that we end up getting basically like, or that the story revolves around that Force retention idea. You know, that's one of the important things. That's a story you could tell with Kenobi that like might deserve to be told. It's one of the few things in the prequel trilogy where people were like, I wanted more. I didn't get enough. You know, I wanted things more explained. And even in the sequel trilogy, people wanted that too. They were hoping that there was going to be more stuff related to that, like that would somehow be like a key component to it. And they kind of shied away. And I do kind of get it. Like, the more you tell, the more you demystify the Force, the more kind of problem that you're going to have with people getting bummed out by the fact that it's not as mystical now. But at the same time, if you put that in a really, really cool story with lots of really strange magical stuff, I think the idea would work.
Also, Jason, I think Screw Top would be the perfect code name for a movie where featuring 3PO's head and like just on an island with Old Man Solo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's just stuck with the screw top. He goes, "Oh, shut up, screw top." You know,
dude. I wish one of these Star Wars movies production code names would be Your Mama. That way, when
it's all about your mom.
When people leak it, they're like, the production code name is Your Mama, and people are like, he's
Padme
joking
in
around.
underwear.
He's joking around.
It's the Padme in underwear.
It's Natalie Portman in underwear. Yeah. Dewey says the Rosario thing reminds me of what Jamie Foxx did last year. It was rumored he was in Spider-Man No Way Home. He posted about it, confirming it, thinking it was an official announcement, then deleted it. Good point.
Here's the crazy thing about that is I worked on the licensed t-shirts for both those Amazing Spider-Man films, the one with the Goomba lizard.
Okay.
Let me tell you, when we put the lizard on a t-shirt by itself, you're like, we're back to this. We're doing this again. The Goombas from Mario Brothers. Ugh. And then you get to Electro, which I like Jamie Foxx. Collision, was it the one Michael Mann film with him and Tom Cruise?
Oh,
Collateral.
Yeah, where he's the cab driver. Yeah, that's a pretty good movie.
It's fantastic. I love it. That being said, that Electro is just, it's like itsy bitsy spy. I know we like to complain about the Nirvana covers in Black Widow, but go back to the itsy bitsy spider riff and Amazing Spider. It gets worse, far worse. So and Paul Giamatti was in that film too. Not good.
Yeah.
You know, and to the fact that people now 7 or 8 years later are like, yeah, man, I'm excited. He's back. Like, really? That's how long it took a movie nobody went and saw, was not liked, was critically panned, called the modern version of Batman and Robin. We took a giant loss of merchandise that year to the point where it was like no more Spider-Man on merch ever, which I had never seen. Right? I mean, Spider-Man was something that always made these companies money more than anything until the Avengers movie came out.
Yeah.
And then now they're like, can't wait for it. It's exciting. So it's amazing how like the nostalgia just takes about 5 to 8 years before people are like, I want more. I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I don't care at all. Like I could do without it. Like, yeah, that didn't work before. Why are we doing it again? Is my thing. But it is a good point that he brings up, that sometimes actors don't follow along and they just do what they do and they break stuff.
Who's the actor that played Spider-Man in the 70s in the show? He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So he's in there. So in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when Leonardo DiCaprio goes to work on that Western and he's getting his face done and the director of the series come in, that's Spider-Man. That the Hammond, something Hammond.
Okay.
And so I'm like,
wait, did you say Steve Dave? Like get
Steve
him Steve Dave?
Totally Steve Dave. Steve Dave. So I just want Steve Dave to get the shit kicked out of him in one freaking film. So but I'd be more excited for Hammond coming back in a film than I would, so whatever.
Yeah. It's too many Spider-Men. And that's why we want clones.
M-I-N.
Spider-Man. And that's why we want Star Wars to keep the lid on cloning. Star Wars, Josh Stickle says Star Wars already tried having a weekly show with the Star Wars show and they didn't ever announce anything or break news on it. They should have realized by now that their secrecy hurts them. Yeah. I mean,
because saw that coming a mile away, right? Like, what are they going to do there?
Yeah. It's like sometimes those shows will have like bits where it was a little too campy for me overall. Thrawn is totally going to be jacked like a Power of the Force figure with golden gauntlets.
Shia LaBeouf confirmed as Thrawn.
Yeah. Mark Hamilton says Feige Waldron will be the clinic to the whole Mandoverse 2027. Oh, climax.
I was like, clinic. Did the Mandoverse get hepatitis C? Like,
dude, Mando caught something back there. You have to understand, he had a baby with him.
Took his helmet off one time,
and he took that helmet off. They saw it was Pedro Pascal. He had no kids, and he just let
not that helmet, like,
the
other helmet. Yeah.
And that mustache. I mean, mustache rides. It's gonna happen. All right.
Jason goes, hey.
David Lozano says, I think Filoni has a ton of ideas. If he's sharing them with anyone at Lucasfilm, I don't think so much. I don't know, man. I think he has like I think he always says what he wants to do. I mean, he's pretty ingrained in that company. So what his plans are and what his ideas are, I'm sure people are aware. But speaking of Ben Burtt, where is Ben Burtt? Ben Burtt.
Let me go.
Yeah. Ben Burtt started like kind of a slow kind of exit from Lucasfilm back in the day. Like he ended up going over to Pixar. And yeah.
Wally, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wally was that was one of the first things I think that he worked on. And I don't think he was there like full time yet. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was just kind of like a slow thing. And then, what's his name?
I know how to make robot noises.
Yeah. I know how to make robot noises too.
You need robot noises?
Wait, you guys need robot noises?
I'm the guy.
George Lucas and Rick McCallum are quitting, and I can make robot noises for you. I can do that.
Do you need anything that races?
Oh man. So he goes, Mark Hamilton says, I've done a blue Lars Thrawn Photoshop. He looks the part. Oh, I want to see it.
I want another Larry David TV show where it's Ben Burtt who makes noises with the computers and the sounds, and Michael Winslow who makes noises with his mouth.
I want
right? And it's this, it's like an Odd Couple. No, you got to do it with your mouth. No, you gotta do it with stuff.
I want them to do Larry David as adult Grogu using the force perspective from the Hobbit stuff. So
I want him stuck with an actual toy. He's not allowed to have a real Grogu. He's just stuck with this. What is this?
Hey, how's it going, Steven? Steven says, is Indy 5 out this week? And when did it get renamed Jungle Cruise? Yeah, I haven't seen. All I saw was that they got rid of like Trader Sam's or something. People were like really mad about it, and I was just like, who cares?
Now it's Trader Mutts. Deal with it.
Trader Mutts, yeah. What was the name of the guy who betrays him in the fourth one? I can't remember his name. That
Rick
guy.
McCallum?
Trader McCallum.
Oh, Beowulf.
Beowulf.
It's Beowulf.
Beowulf, yeah. Mr. Lopez says, at Mark Hamilton, hello, really? Is it on Discord? Talking about his image. Bert was at Pixar last I heard. Yeah, we just talked about it, dude. We were like, oh, you need noises? He's like, I got noises. I got all kinds of sounds.
And you make them with stuff and not your mouth, and that's how it's done.
Yeah.
That's not true. Like, and Bumblebee comes out and goes, you speak with the radios and the music. You don't do anything with the mouth.
His very first day that they get the Police Academy guy and they make him co-head of sounds.
One guy, okay. Ben Burtt, his name will start with an A, and Michael Winslow's characters will start with a D, and then we'll have the robot, and that's R, right? Yeah. So we'll call the show, right?
ADR coming to FX this fall.
Yeah. Oh man, you and me, Jason, we just need an agent.
We gotta start pitching this stuff. Victoria, BC is the shit. God bless
Before
Canada.
Christ, or
oh yeah, not now. He means back then.
Yeah,
way back
before,
way back. Like AD is crap. So Steve says, no fires around here yet. That's good. Dang, that's really good. All up island so far. That's good. There's one YouTuber that I like, and he's from Canada. And he I can't remember his name, but he always goes, here's the scoop. And I'm like, man, I wish I had that one. He totally has it now. But
and here's the scoop. And here's the scoop. Before clones or after Darth, like
yeah. Santa says, you guys are cracking me up on the Santa stuff. Laugh aloud. I'm behind and listening at 2 times to catch up. Hilarious. Yeah, we probably are funny when you get rid of all the stuttering.
I call these fortunes my paper moons.
Paper moons.
I don't know, man. I'm a Santa roll today. Snake eyes. Damn it.
Geek Furious says, sources tell me, redacted. And then he goes on to say, considering where The Rise of Skywalker left off, it feels like Lucasfilm can't possibly move too far forward without covering Rey Skywalker's academy. So is Rogue Squadron set not too long after The Rise of Skywalker? Yeah, that's like a good question, because I mean, you always have, if she's starting her own Jedi Order, if she's doing it and they're doing
Was that
it.
confirmed? Yeah.
And is it going to be on the Lars homestead? Like, is she just going to dig it out? You know what I mean? She's like, that's where we keep the masters, and this is where the people were charred once, and that's the blue milk. And
yeah, so what happens is we were going to put the Jedi Temple here. We were digging it up, and then we found this guy's skull, and we were like, "What?" We kept digging. We found
it's buried on the ancient Jedi burial ground. Right?
It turns out it was Luke Skywalker's aunt and uncle. What can you do? But
do you think she'd get an academy? You think they? I always felt like, again, that's something that would have been done separately, right?
A police academy with Winslow.
You bastard! You're just setting up my dreams, man.
His force power is he makes all these noises with his mouth, and it's so.
All the robots are called Gutenbergs.
Gutenbergs. War! The Gutenbergs have invaded Coruscant.
Kim Cattrall's coming back, dude. I don't mean to cut you off. Look, Ben Lai has like legitimate info, like an actual take, and I'm over here just make it all camp, you know. But what do you honestly, Ben? Do you think? Because we had this discussion before, where I was like, you know, what if this Rey thing was more like the Ronin, where they have no master, they have no temple, they just roam planet to planet, helping wherever the Force leads them, and Finn is like the guy who's like, I can make another temple, you know, we can do it the right way, you know, kind of thing. You think they'd go that way, or you just think they'll ignore it till she ages?
I think there's a decent chance we get a time jump so we can. I honestly feel like Lucasfilm is the route of, you know what, however we feel about the sequels, let's just try to avoid them so we don't start getting bad backlash on social media, you know? Like, I feel like Rogue Squad could potentially be like, you know, 50, 100-year time jump or something. And even if it's not, Rey's irrelevant to the movie, presumably. Like, she wasn't an X-Wing pilot or anything. So, you know, the movie's going to be, you know, we're guessing anyways about like fighter pilots and stuff, you know, based on what Patty Jenkins has said. So, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think they'll touch that for the Rogue Squadron movie. And in terms of like the Academy, I don't think it's going to happen, because there's really no indication on film or in any of the canon stuff that she's going to start an Academy. I mean, you know, she could just basically, you know, she went and buried Luke and Leia's lightsabers. Like, she could basically be saying like, hey, I'm done with the Jedi, and I'm just going to like almost do basically what Luke or Obi-Wan did in A New Hope, almost become like a hermit and just move on or something. Like,
yeah, the nerd in me thinks we should drop the Academy thing. That's from the expanded universe, and hasn't really shown, I don't think, shown up in anything.
It reads so Disney, right?
It reads
Rey Skywalker's Academy. That plops up up from the ground.
Hello,
and
children.
They all do a dance for 30 minutes a day
with a fucking sorting hat.
That's a Disney. Yeah, that's a Disney experience waiting to happen.
At Rey Skywalker's Academy.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I agree with you, Ben. It's like, you don't send, if you have like maybe 2 Jedi at that point, you don't send them to deal with little problems or with things that aren't the biggest things in the galaxy. Who knows what the problem is, but yeah, your army or whatever. And if she is starting a Jedi Council and a Jedi Order, one thing I would say is that in my mind, since she kind of connects with all of them in that moment when she takes down Palpatine, I would imagine that she may have more help than like Luke Skywalker had. I don't know if that even matters. It probably doesn't, and it doesn't have to. But they definitely have the ability that she's heard these voices. These people have been with her. And like Luke Skywalker, we think might have talked to Obi-Wan and Yoda and his dad, maybe. And it seems like at some point that cut off, because they were like, you have to make your own way. It's time you move out. And
plus, there's no taxes on Tatooine, so the construction fees sort of pay for themselves.
They already own the place. They already own the farm. So yeah, but it wouldn't make any sense to like, I don't think it would make sense to set it on Tatooine. Like the whole idea of setting it on Coruscant, which was a problem because it became intertwined with politics, but it being set on Coruscant meant it was at the core and it could respond to everything like in the core worlds. Like that was kind of the point of it. So I mean, geographically, that would also ring kind of stupid. It's like, oh, we'll be there next Tuesday. You know,
Yeah.
we're out here hanging out with Watto.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're getting an Academy. I really don't, but I do think they buried Luke and Leia's lightsabers for a reason, though, because Star Wars, no matter what people say, they can't help but connecting things. So I think at some point, whether it be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whenever, we're going to see some type of on-screen thing. You know, you have a couple kids who are potentially going to be the main characters of the movie or the show or whatever, dig up Luke and Leia's lightsaber and be the new, main characters of the thing. Like, I really think because they just can't resist to connect things.
Like maybe it grows like a giant lightsaber tree.
That's what I was gonna say. And then at the Academy, they have to pick the one from the tree.
No. They have to actually fight it. They have to fight all of those lightsabers.
It has all the branches with lightsabers.
Yeah.
This tree's such a Grievous, you know.
Oh,
it's the Grievous tree. Yeah, the Grievous tree.
So okay. Oh, Steven says that he saw Giamatti's in Jungle Cruise. Oh no. But Mark
how it's done.
She was literally an X-Wing pilot in The Rise of Skywalker. I see what you did there. But I'm going to say she kind of just, there was a little.
So it was Chewie, but,
So
that was more Chewie.
Yeah.
It says it's set up for Rey and Finn to start Santa says it's set up for Rey and Finn to start developing Force users, finding and training them. Yeah, I'm
like it or not.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you. I'm with you on there. We'll start to wrap the show up right now.
Finding and training is different than starting an entire organization.
Tax-wise, most certainly.
Yeah, I mean, what's the, if you go and you do all that, and both of them, Finn has the power now, but they're just gonna like retire. Like that's not how Star Wars works. What'll happen is maybe even if that may even be the idea of I'm just going to become a farmer on Tatooine and be chill here, but then something by doing that
when he digs up that saber on accident, what is this?
Yeah. Eric said I just watched Strange Brew as a grown up and realized the story is Hamlet. Oh, wow.
Well, it was copy. It was in public domain, so
Mac was the guy from Indy 4. Yeah, I like
that. And the moon from McDonald's.
Geek Fury says anyone who thinks they will ignore the sequel trilogy and skip over Rey Skywalker's journey post The Rise of Skywalker is pushing an agenda. People said they will ignore the prequel trilogy after Disney thought, and the opposite happened. Yeah, no, I'm with you. They're gonna build. They aren't gonna just like let it go. And I think depending on how the careers of Daisy Ridley and John Boyega go will depend on how easy it is to make their ideas for them happen quicker or not. But I think it will happen. Oh, yeah. And I mean, so far right now, it's looking like Daisy Ridley will be available
eventually, yes. Like I can say, I guess I'm pushing a agenda, but no, I think in the short term, we won't see anything connected to the sequel trilogy directly. Like, I don't think we'll see Rey on screen in the next 5 years. I don't.
Sure.
Just because we have all of these projects currently, but it will happen at some point. I could see that happening. It's just, it all falls on the whole thing of money. I mean, why wouldn't you, like we talked about with the people connecting to the prequels or the original trilogy or whatever, why wouldn't you capitalize on whatever fans grew up watching the sequel trilogy, 5, 10 years from 5, 7, 8 years, however long from now? Why wouldn't you have Daisy Ridley and John Boyega and those guys come back to do something? Because then those people who were growing up with it will be paying customers now. And then now you can keep it going, whether it be episode 10 or whatever. I just don't think they'll be in Rogue Squadron.
I feel like the actual like way to be looking and thinking of that movie isn't so much thinking about Rey and Finn, but as Poe, because Poe is the one who you would think would be the most connected to that side of things than anything than those two.
Protagonist.
He's the protagonist.
Can I step out there?
And
Mike,
how do I fucking hate you and love you at the same time right now?
You've seen Ron Burgundy. You understand how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, but I mean, that's what I would imagine. Oscar Isaac and Dennis Lawson would be the two people to bring back, if anyone. You know, those two guys.
Lawson,
right?
Yeah. Not for nothing. I just checked out Ben's LinkedIn, and it says Ben's middle name is A and his last name is Jenda. So I'm skeptical now of everything Ben has to add to this podcast.
Hashtag cancel Ben. But I do think though, with this Rogue Squadron movie, like, you know, we also have to throw in the mix as well. They described it as like an age of like new pilots, or however they described it. They described it almost like it's going to be new characters, though. If you literally look up the description for the movie, like, so to me, I really don't think we're going to have many. I think there's a very slim chance we even get Poe in this movie.
Let me ask you this, Ben. When was the last time a show or a movie with all new characters was a show or a movie with all new characters?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's valid.
Just saying, like, I don't think they, I mean, maybe Patty J is like, no, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. But when she says we're going to be honoring the Rogue Squadron stories from the past in that one quote, it makes me think that they might be pulling some older characters and, that's that guy from that book, and just make it that name. He's an old grizzled pilot now, and you tell that kind of thing. I wouldn't be surprised.
Dengar confirmed.
Dengar confirmed. No, I don't know. Dak gets stepped on, so here's Dak's son. We call him Flatty because his dad got stepped on by an AT-AT. You guys call it an AT-AT though. We didn't have time for that shit back.
Don't let's not forget the AT.
Yeah, we didn't have time for that shit back during Rogue Squadron. Millennials is what he says.
And not for nothing, Mando was in Wonder Woman 84, so it's all tied together.
It's true. I already forgot it.
Not even a year, man.
Geek Furious wants to say I wasn't speculating that they would be in Rogue Squadron. Yeah, no, I know that. No, but
Ben just knew you were wrong, so he was capitalizing on it.
Mr. Lopez says, I still don't understand why bury those two lightsabers in the sand. I don't see the poetry. It's because she used the parts to make her own, and then those parts, what do you do with them? So they were burying them there, and then clearly, so that way somebody could dig it out and be like, "Oh, blimey, I'm gonna make my own lightsaber," and then they do it, and then the Jawa Jedi saga begins, and it's a little pirate sounding or whatever chimney sweep sounding Jawa. Because
I would like that as a series, and I would like Otis Frampton to draw it. By the way, I would like, before we leave, Otis Frampton's an artist who's been around for quite a while on the internet. He did a series on his own of like 100 different, literally 100 covers for a series that doesn't exist called the Jawa Adventures. You can see it on his Instagram. They're all amazing. And the fact that this book doesn't exist, I mean, blows my mind. Like, of all the fans who've made the fan arts, the guy not only did the work, it should exist. And some of the scenes he drew ended up like in the Mando in some way. Like, you can see like, this is weird. Like, so I'm just saying Otis Frampton, man, should be drawing the Jawa Jedi Adventure. You know, he digs it up, and it's just like, and look, it'll be like that. Remember that manga Ron with the little dinosaur that was in Tekken 3? It'll have no dialogue. It'll be silent, right? Yeah. It's just alien noises and effects.
Oh, you see the eyes, like they add the feature that the Jawa eyes like dim and brighten, so that way you get like a little bit of fierceness going.
Sure.
Rick hopes that Rogue Squadron is going to have dogfights like in Battlestar Galactica. So many pew-pews. Yeah, I hope that whatever they do, I hope it's like the best spaceship dogfights ever. Because if you're going to do Star Wars and you're going to make it a dogfighting thing, I hope it's not a bunch of maneuvers we've seen before. And I hope it's like it really steps that up and takes that to the next level.
Never thought of it till now, guys. Chewbacca as an X-Wing pilot is now a space dogfighter.
Space dogfights.
Right? Mm-hmm. God, I didn't think about it till now.
Produced by Michael Vick. Sorry. Anyways, Stephen says, I have a feeling it will be mainly female leads. Yeah, it might be. I mean, yeah, you never know. I mean, when it comes to like Rogue Squadron, if we're talking about Rogue Squadron, I have a feeling that it will be an ensemble, and the ensemble will most likely be diverse. I would say that's for sure. And I agree with Geek Furious. He says to get Bear McCreary to score Rogue Squadron, you cowards. Yeah, they really should use him on a Star Wars.
That is the best suggestion I've heard so far concerning that film from fans. Like, honestly, that seems perfect.
Yep. He's a geek and he's furious, and sometimes he's right. Mr. Lopez says, yeah, a gimmick is to leave it open as anyone can find the sabers, but story-wise, I don't get it. It doesn't bother me though. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you too. It's like the sabers going back there is kind of like, you know, like it would have. It's just one of those things where you're like, what symbolic thing did we do? I like the original ending that I heard of that they did, where all three of them are just out. You know, all the main characters are out. They're looking at the twin suns. Like that, I think would have been a nicer ending too. But we are
like the random hobo lady that shows up, man, out of nowhere. Like, what is this?
Yeah, and you know, in certain versions, it was a kid, and then they had the old lady, and they kept changing. And during the editorial process, they kept like going back between using the kid and the old lady. I have a feeling
that is the connective tissue between those three films. At the very end of each sequel trilogy film, some rando character that wasn't in the film appears, right? Like Luke, Broom Kid, Hobo Lady, right?
No, I think that was why they went with the Hobo Lady, was that there was the when it was the child, there was an implication the child was going to just dig it right up and then become Room Boy, you know, but
that's how kids do it.
That's how they do it. Geek Free says, my mom named me Geek Fusion, but I misspelled it when I was making my username. it happened.
Oh, Oracle. That's an Orco reference, by the way.
But good stuff. So anyways, we are at over 2 hours now, so we're going to end it here. I have stuff to do with my so-called life, and unfortunately, I can't stay all day, but it was really great hanging out with Rob and Ben and making up a bunch of ridiculous stuff today because we can't help ourselves. And yeah, we can't help it. And I have to say that we had really good questions today. If you guys ever have questions that you want read on the show, I forgot Darth Del Rio's, so we'll get to it tomorrow. But if you ever have a show you want, or a question you want read on the show and you can't make it to the live ones, just email me, MakingStarWars@gmail.com, or tweet at me or whatever, DM me on Twitter, whatever works for you. And then I'll collect them and I'll read them on the show. And if you want to support the show, you can become a Patreon supporter, and you could get these as audio if you prefer to hear them as audio podcasts while you drive your car around doing crazy stuff, sweet jumps and all that. Or you
Dukes
can
Hazard. Them boys was listening to MakingStarWars.net.
Oh no! Every day we have a Dukes Hazard. Gets in every day. But you could also become a channel member on YouTube if you prefer to support us in that way. Support me in that way. However you want to do it, it's cool with me. And if you don't want to do it, then don't. That's cool too. The content is free. Making it's not though. But thank you so much for everyone for showing up today, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Not about spaceships.